Hi, everyone, and welcome back to One Connected Love. I'm Daniel,
I'm Christina.
and we are true twin flames in harmonious union. In today's video, we want to discuss how to know when you're about to go through a twin flame portal.
The
So,
portal!
the portal, oh my god! So, yeah, what exactly does that mean?
It's a wormhole.
A wormhole?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, so you might hear a lot of talk about portals.
Lionsgate portal.
Yeah, like all this stuff, in the twin flame community that like, oh, it's a full moon, a portal's opening. Yeah, I think first we want to speak to that, right? So, is that real?
No.
No. Um, sure, like there's definitely times where the collective is moving through, a lot of heightened energy, and you can definitely ride that wave. That's true. But in terms of like undergoing changes in your life, or like some magic night, that's gonna just change everything. That's really putting a lot of false hope in something outside of you.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Changes only come with spiritual work.
Yeah.
Like, and by spiritual work, I mean like consciously working on ascending, like raising your vibration and ascending your consciousness, right?
Right.
And that's through like spiritual healing, and essentially working on your consciousness, clearing your consciousness, right? That's what all these yogis and everything in the Himalayas and all these people do is they meditate in the mountains to work on their consciousness and essentially create union with the divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without becoming a yogi in the Himalayas, what can you really do then to experience massive change on your twin flame journey?
Yeah, so we've mentioned this before. We actually use the mirror exercise. It's a technique that our spiritual teachers, Jeff and Shaleia, taught us, and it is a very simple technique that you use to work on your consciousness. It could be done anywhere. It could be done very quickly, and it just essentially involves feeling your feelings and healing your feelings, releasing negative feelings, right? And what all this, going back to the twin flame portal idea, is that all this spiritual work causes transformation within you. And these twin flame portals, right, are just another word for like transformation, a shift. You'll hear a lot of people say like a shift into like a
shift in consciousness, shift into a higher vibration.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so that's what that is. That's how you achieve that. It's not something that like the universe just throws at you and you're like, oh, I just shifted. Like,
right.
It comes from conscious spiritual work.
It's an achievement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that.
So how do you know that you're about to move through a portal or you're about to move through a big spiritual transformation?
So you'll begin to notice that one, you're inwardly, you're beginning to think different or possibly make new choices based on the healing and the spiritual work that you've done.
Yeah.
And what that does is that reflects outwardly in your reality.
Right. And so what does that really look like, making new choices? So I mean, it might be that like things that you thought you liked or things that you once really enjoyed or that you resonated with are no longer really resonating with you. Or you might be aware like, oh, this thing that I used to do, like maybe that's kind of a pattern, like that's not really serving me. And you begin to make some new choices. You begin to change, essentially, right? Even in subtle ways. Times of big transformation or times of big change. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Things that once resonated with you no longer vibrate, right? In your vibration, a lot of people say, like the term they use. But yeah, if you've ever heard the term dark night of the soul or things like that, a dark night of the soul is actually, it's a shift in your consciousness. It is a transformation, a transformative period.
Yeah.
And I can give you an example in my own experience. I went through a dark night of the soul once, and when I was a couple years ago, And yeah, sure enough, all my friends kind of vibed out of my life. Things that I used to enjoy vibed out of my life. And it was just for a certain period of time so that I could integrate all of these new things that I was, learning, and all the changes that were happening to me. And as soon as, I completed that process, then the new things that resonated with me were attracted back to me, and my life kind of fell back into place.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, in the beginning of, these portals and changes and transformations, it can look a little bit chaotic in your life, with a little bit like things leaving, but it's a good process. It's a good thing that's happening to you. You're changing and vibing up.
Because only love is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it might look like chaos. It might look like failure in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like things that you thought that you were, just things. Things might it might look like failure because you might have some relationships leaving. You might leave a job that wasn't really resonating with you. There's all kinds of things that it might look like. But the truth is that you're transforming, and only love is real, right? And so you have to see it from a place of growth.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to create space for the new, you have to release the old.
Yes.
And so, and like a dark night of the soul is not required for transformation.
Yeah, it's not.
But that's just an example of like a deep, long-standing period of introspection.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing to know is that these changes, even though, there's chaos, or it looks like chaos and everything, if you're aware of what's happening, right? Actually, before I get into that, there's one other thing is upheaval, spiritual upheaval that we can talk about. So other than like the stuff that's changing outwardly, you'll feel it inwardly. We in the Twin Flame community refer to spiritual upheaval, and essentially that is like the releasing of old negative feelings or thought patterns or things from your consciousness, and allowing, like, it leaves, and what remains there is the peace inside you that was always there, the love that was always there, right? All these thought patterns and stuff just kind of bury that, and you're not aware of it until it's released. And as that's releasing, that's what causes like shifts in your reality and all these things to vibe out. But going back to my previous point is that these shifts and everything in your reality can seem scary, right? They can seem like, what the heck is going on, but if you're aware of what's happening, it doesn't have to be a scary experience, and it doesn't have to be a like painful experience with like the upheaval and everything like that. And it actually can be a very pleasant experience, so long as you're allowing the process to happen. I know, going back to my dark night of the soul, like I remember when it was happening, this is before I knew about Twin Flames, before, I knew about this whole journey and everything like that. And I remember I was like, what is happening to me? Like, I felt in a way like very depressed, but now I realize, looking back at it, it was actually me releasing depression, because throughout my life growing up, I had dealt with depression my whole life, but it was actually me releasing all of that depression, coming to a state of peace. So yeah, when you're aware of this journey, you just don't attach to any of the upheaval that's coming up. You just allow it to release. You allow everything to unfold naturally and just kind of let it happen. And that actually speeds up the process. That speeds up transformation and allows it to just flow a lot easier.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that are happening on a spiritual journey, and while a special night might not create a massive shift, a lot of focused spiritual work will lead you to massive shifts. So how to tell that these are happening? You might experience some of the things that we mentioned in this video, basically spiritual growth it's not always linear. right? Like a lot of the times you're going and going, you're doing your healing work, you're living your life. Things don't feel like they're changing, and then all of a sudden there's all these things like massively changing out of nowhere. And yeah, that's what it looks like to undergo like a big shift.
Right.
Yeah, and you kind of also end up getting really clear on the things that actually matter to you.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention too is sometimes upheaval can actually have physical symptoms. So a cold, runny nose, headache. In my case, I had heart palpitations. Always consult a medical professional to make sure there really isn't some sort of health issue. But if you're experiencing it and then it goes, and then you experience it and then it goes and it's gone, then it's most likely spiritual ascension symptoms. But again, if you feel concerned, and always speak to a medical professional on that.
Yeah, but that's not exactly necessary. Like you might not always have physical symptoms.
It's something that can occur.
Happen. Sure. Yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers the Twin Flame portal. So yeah, me and Christina, we do offer private coaching sessions. We also offer readings. Check out the links below at oneconnectedlove.com to access our services. We are certified ascension coaches with Twin Flames Universe, and we are looking forward to helping you on your twin flame journey. So thank you very much for joining us in this video, and we will see you in the next one. Click like and subscribe down below for more juicy videos. Thank you.
See you soon.